That was a big spark that Wall Street isn't ready for. A stablecoin worth $500 million is already taking over the market, and 11 very large institutions with $240 billion in assets are getting ready to start XRP ETFs. You can feel it. The price hasn't even moved much yet, but something big is about to break. You'll want to know what's going to happen next if you have XRP or are even just thinking about getting some. Things could happen faster than most people are ready for. This isn't advice about money, so you can make smart moves. We'll cut through the chatter and show you what's really going on. I need you to commit to this right now because the time frame is important. Ripple was in trouble with the SEC for years. The big money players were scared of that legal cloud. Big companies worth a lot of money won't touch XRP with a 10-foot pole. But when that case ended in 2023, everything changed. This is where things get hot. It was a rush on Wall Street as soon as the case was over. We're not talking about a small amount of money coming in. Big companies like WisdomTree, Franklin Templeton, and Grayscale control more than $240 billion between them. As soon as the court case was over, these companies started filing to start XRP ETFs. The filing began to fall before the ink was even dry. Why does that matter? Check out how Bitcoin does things. The price of Bitcoin more than doubled in just a few months after the Bitcoin ETFs went live in early 2024. If even a small amount of that ETF-driven money flows into XRP, it could have a huge impact. This is how fresh cash comes into the system. And not just from small sellers, they're also coming from vaults that have been locked up until now. Now let's talk about the spread bomb. Ripple released their own digital dollar stablecoin in December 2024. It was called RLUSD. This isn't some shady algorithm-backed coin. It is backed by cash and U.S. government assets and is tied to the U.S. dollar. Ripple releases clear reports every month so that institutions can check the funds. It's not about going after hype. This is about getting people to trust banks and payment networks that handle billions of dollars every day. The rate at which RLUSD has grown has been crazy fast. In just 7 months, more than $500 million worth of it has been used. This makes it one of the world's fastest growing stablecoins this year. That's faster uptake than a lot of stablecoins that have been around for years. Now, here's what most people don't see coming. The XRP ledger is Ripple's own fast blockchain, but right now, about 70% of all RLUSD trades happen on Ethereum. That's a good thing. Ethereum is still the leader in DeFi apps and on-chain projects, so putting RLUSD there quickly brings Ripple's name to the attention of millions of crypto users, but this is where the magic takes place. The XRP ledger from Ripple has a feature called auto bridging built in. Take a look at this. When someone trades one asset for another, the network checks to see if going through XRP in the middle can make the deal cheaper or faster. People who trade don't have to ask for XRP to be used if it is the better option. That means there's a chance that XRP is moving slowly behind the scenes every time RLUSD is used. And every time XRP is used in that way, a small amount of it is burned and taken out of circulation for good. It's like supply shock going very slowly. As more people use RLUSD, the background burn rate could seriously reduce the amount of XRP that is available over time. This is a brilliant move by Ripple. They already have more than 60 licenses from regulators around the world, which lets them work with banks, money transfer companies, and payment networks on several countries. They're not just making a coin, they're also setting up a new way for people around the world to send and receive money. XRP is the fast bridge that links all the stations on the map, and RLUSD is the stable, regulated train that banks can ride. The price of XRP is just above $3 right now. It hit $3.60 earlier this month. After its rise after the ETF, Bitcoin has been trading near $120,000. Some predictions say it will reach over $150,000 by 2026. While that's going on, XRP won't be still. If institutional demand keeps going up and supply keeps going down, XRP could be worth between $5 and $9 in the next big cycle. And that's a conservative reading based on real capital flow and usefulness, not a wild guess. It's not enough to hope that XRP goes to the moon overnight. You need to know that Ripple is building infrastructure that most small users won't see until it's finished. The rich will already be in the best seats by the time the ribbon is cut. Take a look. Institutions already accept RLUSD because it is open and honest. It's already in the Ethereum environment, which is where all the money is. You can connect it straight to the XRP ledger, a payment rail made for speed, low costs, and transactions between assets. In that puzzle, XRP is the piece that holds everything together. More RLUSD captures and global payment flows means more background volume for XRP to handle, and more XRP is burned and goes from circulation. That's why the ETF reports are so important. ETFs are a way for regular buyers to get into the market. There are funds, retirement plans, and wealth managers that either can't or won't handle direct crypto ownership. With the click of a button, they can pour money into a controlled, exchange-listed product. The order books will be flooded with new orders when those orders come through, just like Bitcoin did in early 2024. The building blocks for something that might happen in the next 12 to 36 months are being laid. To begin, ETFs cause the first wave of demand. Then, the use of RLUSD keeps driving up background XRP usage. At the same time, supply slowly shrinks with each burn. Ripple's licenses make it possible for more banks and payment providers to join without worrying about officials. It's crazy that the market still doesn't price in the power of ETFs plus real-world use. Most retail traders are either not paying attention, trying to get meme coins, or are waiting for news to tell them it's time to buy. But when that signal comes, the rich people will already have their passes. That's why where you stand now is more important than when you hit the perfect bottom. This is not just a chart play, it's a shift in the way things are built. A lot of money is coming in through ETFs, and Ripple is getting a better handle on payments between institutions. This is a rare double engine in crypto. You can ride both waves at the same time if you have a plan. Make sure you're in the right place while this setup is still coming together. Let us go back to the Ripple story. RLUSD isn't just another stablecoin, which is something that people often forget. It's already moving in areas where XRP can grow without the need for store hype. In places like Asia Pacific, Latin America, and the Middle East, where bank-to-bank transfers are slow and cost a lot, think of payment networks. Ripple is already connected to institutions in those areas, so RLUSD can be used almost right away. RLUSD transactions can also be automatically bridged through XRP. This means that Ripple is basically planting the seeds for long-term use of XRP in financial systems. Any payment, no matter how small, can use XRP to speed things up and cut costs. It burns more XRP every time it does that. Each move on the XRP ledger burns a small amount of money, but when you look at millions of payments, it's a steady drip, drip, drip of supply decrease. When you add in the fact that ETFs cause sudden jumps in demand, you have a market situation where price pressure naturally leans upward. For RLUSD, the $500 million mark is more than just a number. It proves that the product and market fit. Because of trust, the first $500 million is always the hardest. That much money won't be put into a stablecoin until institutions are sure it's safe, usable, and can be redeemed at any time. It might not take long for the business to grow from $500 million to $5 billion now that people trust it. This makes it easier for people to buy and sell XRP. There are also signs that Ripple may add RLUSD to remittance routes in a deeper way. Let's say someone in the US sends money to family in Mexico or the Philippines. The process is now dollars to RLUSD to XRP to local currency instead of going through several trades. People never see XRP, but it's always there, doing its job. That is the kind of adoption that doesn't depend on store hype cycles. There are so many of them that it's impossible to avoid them. Also, keep in mind that Ripple isn't acting alone. The 11 big companies that are interested in XRP ETFs aren't just being nosy. They can see the infrastructure, the data on how it is used, and the legal path that Ripple has made. With more than 60 licenses around the world, Ripple has an edge over other cryptocurrency projects. It gets even more interesting now. ETFs bring in more than just passive players. They also make it possible for products like options, leveraged ETFs, and unstructured notes that are tied to the success of XRP. For large-scale deals, this opens up new trading markets for XRP. This makes it more liquid, stable, and appealing. It's a loop that keeps going. More cash makes institutions feel safer, and when they feel safer, there are more products. More products mean more investors, and more investors mean more demand. When you add that to the real-world payments rail that Ripple is building, you get a mixed asset that is both a payment system and an investment tool. With Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've seen this movie before. Infrastructure growth came first, then institutional doors opened. What makes XRP different is that it has a burning system that limits the amount that can be used. Bitcoin and Ethereum do not have this feature. Another thing to keep in mind is that Ripple is one of the few blockchain companies that works directly with governments and agencies. They aren't trying to avoid accountability. Instead, they are pushing for it. That will matter when new financial rules come out in the next few years, because institutions will only be able to use projects that are clear on regulatory issues. Take a look at the line of style. ETFs for Bitcoin in 2024, price goes up. Ethereum ETFs, most likely in 2025. Flow of institutions coming in. XRP ETFs, for sure that's the next domino to fall. This is different from Bitcoin and Ethereum because XRP already has a built-in global payment use case that has been tried on a large scale. We're still in the early stages of getting that machine going. The growth chart for RLUSD is almost straight up. Institutions are becoming more interested in the ETFs even before they are accepted, and the supply is getting tighter without regular people noticing. Long-term buyers dream of situations like this one where one side is stronger than the other. On one side, you have an object that is very useful, but its supply is limited and it is burning down in value. On the other hand, goods that have already worked with Bitcoin can cause sudden changes in demand. When these forces come together, prices are found quickly. That's why you're ahead of everyone else if you're watching this now. The market loves to respond to news stories. You can make big moves if you get in before the papers dry, the ETFs start trading, the billions of dollars in RLUSD hit the remittance routes, and the supply burn rate makes the news. As Ripple grows, most people aren't seeing the big picture.